Hey guys, welcome to Ultimate Greatness, and today we have a video for you guys where we're going to be discussing the SSP players and who potentially could or could not be picked up. So yeah, I thought I'd do a bit of a video, especially if you guys saw the video yesterday. It really seems like that they very likely had their final interview. So yeah, thought I'd make a video on this and kind of get my thoughts in terms of who I think is going to get picked up, and also as well to educate you guys on, you know, who we potentially could be having through the club, as I do feel like some of these guys could even potentially be playing senior footy this year. Yeah, there's a bit of talent there, which normally in the SSP you normally don't get too much. Obviously you can have, you know, a few people pop up here and there, like obviously a Mark was picked up through SSP, Oscar Steen, just to name a few. But yeah, I thought I'd go out of my way to make this video for you guys and just to inform you guys, yeah, who we potentially could pick. So yeah, so without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe for future content, and yeah, let's get stuck in the video. Alright, here we go. With that said, let's get started. So my number one player that I'm going to be speaking about will be Campbell Hwe. Okay, so obviously we have Campbell Hwe. So obviously with him, this is probably the player that I would imagine that the supporters will probably know the most out of all these guys, even casual fans, especially if, you know, if you've gone to the VFL over the last few years, obviously you've seen him play. So with Campbell, it's obviously in terms of the player he is, if I had to compare him to a player, obviously not to the skills, because obviously like with Campbell he has been playing VFL, but in terms of the type of player that he plays by and probably moves and in terms of everything that he does, he's very much that sort of Jordan De Goey sort of type. Now obviously, as I just said, like I know talent wise it's not the same, but he is your sort of like VFL version of a Jordan De Goey. But ever since he has been training, he has been impressing. Obviously, like we do have five other players that have been obviously doing the same. But yeah, I mean, if we were to pick him up, it would personally, and to be honest, it would surprise me, but in the sense of, you know, picking him up, like he'd be a great story. And yeah, just overall, I do really like his attack on the ball. Even his, you know, his kicking is not the greatest, but, you know, obviously he's very hard at it, and yeah, obviously that contested ball type of style, and at least in the VFL, we've seen plenty of times where he is that sort of Jordan De Goey sort of type of player to, you know, take the game on at times. Not to the level of what De Goey does, obviously, because I need to make that abundantly clear, but yeah, that's the sort of type you're looking at. You're just not getting it to the level of what Jordan does. Yeah, no, if we were to pick him up, like, I would be pretty happy with this, but when you look at the five other guys, unfortunately, I just don't see him being picked up, but if he is, obviously I'd be completely fine with it. Yeah, as I said, it'd be a great story. He's been a really awesome clubman, and yeah, sometimes you just need guys like that. So, yeah, definitely wouldn't be disappointed by the pick, as I said, but that's basically where I stand when it comes to Campbell Hwe. Alright, so we are now on to our number two player. So yeah, so obviously for our number two, we will be talking about Sam Sofronides. Okay, so for our second player, we're obviously going to be discussing Sam Sofronides. So obviously with Sam, obviously he has come from the Collegians Football Club. So obviously, you know, after winning a premiership, obviously had a great year in the VAFA, and obviously has impressed obviously our recruiters. So obviously he came down to obviously train just to, you know, have a crack and just to see how he goes. Personally, like, again, I don't mind the idea of it. Like, you know, he's 194 centimeters. I don't exactly know the weight, even though apparently we're not allowed to speak about weight anymore. But he's not necessarily that big of a build. So in terms of having him be a key defender, I just don't see him potentially being that role. I see him more as your, you know, interceptor like Jeremy Howe, things like that. But I don't think necessarily Jeremy Howe was the right comparison for this guy. Personally, I mean, it makes it a bit difficult given that he is a bit taller than him, but I would have him as like a taller version of like a Markov. You know, he's got a bit of speed, even though we haven't seen it too much at training, but like, you know, you can definitely see that when he has the ball, he does have like a little bit of composure. He does have very long arms. You know, he sort of, you know, when it comes to obviously spoiling the ball, he's obviously very good in that. Like, I have also been seeing a little hype about this guy, you know, going through certain like parts of the internet and stuff, and yeah, for me personally, like, I mean, I can see the idea and I can see why people could be excited, but obviously, you know, I think that's just what it comes down to, is the competition that our SSPs have is that it's just really, really like strong at the moment. So, you know, you could be a very good player. I mean, even Huswaite, I would say, is a good player. But you know, when you have the standards that are the SSPs right now, you're going to have players like, you know, your Huswaites and potentially even Sam, like, completely, you know, missing out on the senior selection. Yeah, it's definitely nothing against, obviously, those two, but obviously when it comes to Sam, even though I have seen him improve a lot in the last 2 sessions, he did train on the last Wednesday and Friday. But yeah, obviously for me personally, I've got others who I could see the club picking up. How Sam would go with us at Collingwood, I could definitely see it working well, but no, I've definitely got a few others ahead of him at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so on to the third player that we will be speaking about. So yeah, obviously we're going to get stuck into it, and yeah, that player will be Lachie Sullivan. Okay, so with Lachie, again, another player that has obviously been impressing. For me, the one thing that has stand out, at least like for me, is definitely his fitness and just his ability to just run all day. I'm kind of struggling to find a player comparison in terms of like who, especially a Collingwood comparison, because obviously, you know, being a Collingwood channel, we got to keep it Collingwood as much as we can. I believe in terms of a player, I would probably say maybe like a Callum Brown. Obviously we had times where he would obviously be a forward, and yes, Lachie Sullivan is not really a forward, but Callum Brown wasn't really either. So you know, one of your smaller mids, sort of like tough in and under. Yeah, I believe that's the sort of type of player he is. And I mean, personally, I believe he's obviously a bit better than Brown myself. And it obviously shows even at like the AFL level, like he's won, I believe it was 2 best and fairest in a row at the Bulldogs, because he's obviously originally from Footscray. And then obviously with the season just gone, he also came 3rd in the best and fairest for the whole league overall. So in terms of the resume that Lachie Sullivan has, he's clearly got a lot on his resume. Even captained Footscray as well too. I nearly forgot about that too. So yeah, definitely in terms of if you wanted to look at like a resume going in, I mean, it's pretty impressive, like some of the things that he's actually achieved. And yeah, but personally, I think for me, like he's one of my downfalls for him is that he is very one-dimensional. I feel like for him, he's got to have either a bit of forward sort of skills or defensive skills. Yeah, so in terms of the standards, in terms of the players that we are picking up, especially for SSP, I feel like it's extremely high in terms of, yeah, because with the SSP guys, like, you're not supposed to be getting guys that should be playing senior games. I don't think Sullivan would be the one to obviously probably do that. But obviously, if you have enough injuries and he does play, he could just be one of those plug-in plays, and you know, he might you know, be a handy sort of like player for you. But if you're contending for a flag, just like what we are, I just don't see a future with a player like Lachie. But no, in terms of his fitness has been top notch, and yeah, that's definitely been through the roof. And yeah, I personally, again, I wouldn't mind the pick, to be honest, but I just think that this is probably a pick for the short term and not necessarily the long term. I believe he is 26, so he has a few years on him in terms of not only age and experience, but he still has a few years to go. So yeah, it will be really interesting to see if we get a player of his stature, given that he's a bit more of an older body. We'll see how that plays out, but yeah, for the moment, yeah, with Lachie Sullivan, that's just basically where I have him. Okay, so on to the 4th player we go, and yeah, so we will be speaking about Jack Byel. Okay, so for Jack Byel, obviously, again, another one training for the SSPs, and yeah, this is a guy that you know, I can actually really see us picking up. Again, like every single recruit has been super impressive this off season, but especially with Jack, I'm not entirely sure if his spot's obviously confirmed, and obviously we're not going to know till probably later in the week. But I would actually really like to, you know, sign Jack personally. Yeah, I just think that the way that he sort of like attacks the ball, and he's sort of that player that we kind of need. You know, the player that sort of plays around the half forward, but then also, you know, can also play a bit of midfield if we need him to. I feel in the VFL we'll probably play him as like a midfielder, even potentially on the wing. But he's that sort of type of guy, and I think with going back to Sullivan being that one-dimensional player, Bren Teale, if he's not playing in the midfield, he can actually go forward and he can kick you some goals. So I wouldn't mind picking up Bren Teale just because of that, because like obviously you have a lot of guys that have the potential to be in the midfield, but then when they're out of the midfield, they're a bit of like a fish out of water. Bren Teale certainly isn't that. And if you also look at when he does train and you look at his running, it's really up there with like some of the best in terms of the overall list that we currently have. I wouldn't be surprised if we pick him up, to be honest. And yeah, I would probably have him in my top 3 currently. Potentially if we use all 3 picks, because there's every chance we could use 2 and then take one to the mid-season draft, and then depending on what we do with McStay. I feel like we will ignore McStay just real quick, just to answer that question, because I feel like he will be ready just before finals, so I feel like the club will give McStay every chance. Obviously that's not that video, and we'll maybe speak about in another video if you want, so make sure to let me know in the comments if you want me to go into that topic. With Byel Teale, yeah, I can see him being that sort of in that 3rd spot. Yeah, as I said, in terms of training, he's a really hard trainer, so he'll be driving standards at the club. Yeah, he's just one of those guys, and he's just really tough too. If we get a couple of injuries, I can honestly see this guy playing seniors. I don't think he'll be pushing anyone out, obviously, and especially given this side just won a premiership. I mean, that's a pretty impossible task. Well, not impossible, but it's very difficult. Yeah, so obviously when it comes to Byel Teale, I think that this is a player that we should be picking up. In terms of, you know, what he's shown, personally, I think he's been one of the best. And yeah, obviously, yeah, hopefully we pick him up, because yeah, I can't wait to get him in the door if we do. And yeah, so a player basically half forward. I believe he's 189 centimeters, so he does have a bit of height as a midfielder. But yeah, he'll probably be, you know, your Patrick Lipinski sort of type, your Bo McCreary sort of type, you know, your tough half forward that sort of tackles and he tries to run all day. So yeah, I personally, as I said, can't wait to get him in the door. And obviously I don't know if we are going to pick him up, but yeah, if I had it as it is, he would definitely be in my top 3 for sure. Okay, so my player number 5, I will be talking about Bren Teale. Okay, so with Bren Teale training for an SSP spot, Bren was probably one of my favourite players in terms of like going for the SSP spot. I mean, obviously with how he's gone about it, he's been consistent like right through to where I liked him from the start, and I don't believe he's ever been out of my top 3 really at like any point, I don't think. And personally, when it comes to obviously who we are going to pick up, like obviously I'm going to have my sort of opinions and things like that. Yeah, especially with Teale, like I would really want to pick him up. I was definitely a big fan of him when he was at Port. I don't know if he got hard done by Port, but there was a lot of opportunities I felt he should have got, but he just didn't. Especially with our position with, you know, Cox and Cameron. Not that they're injury prone or anything like that. Obviously, if they are to go down with injury, which they did, yeah, both of them did last season, we don't really necessarily have a backup. Like, yes, we do have Aiden Begg. Happens if Aiden Begg goes down. So, and then obviously Oscar Steen, even though he does have the body for to play AFL, I'm just not completely convinced that he could play AFL and then be at a standard to where he can play well. I do believe he has talent, and he has a lot of talent, but obviously with a guy like that, and especially ruckman, they do take a bit more time, and we're going to be relying on Steen to win some games of footy. This is where someone like a Bren Teale comes in, that's, you know, that sort of same type of player, that the ruckman that can go forward. You know, obviously just putting him in the way can sort of shield Steen a little bit as well too, so that he doesn't have to go up to the seniors too quickly. And then obviously, because sometimes they can go up to the seniors and, you know, that they don't play well, and they can, you know, completely destroy the kid's confidence. That's the last thing we need. So I feel having Teale there is going to be really good. I'm sure both Teale and Steen and even Begg, I'm sure all three of them will come together and they'll try and help each other improve, with obviously Cameron and Cox probably helping them and, you know, not maybe necessarily coaching them, but obviously showing a bit of, you know, leadership in the ruck department. Yeah, that wouldn't shock me to see that. Yeah, so with Teale, like Teale obviously playing, you know, a bit of ruck at Port Adelaide, he can also go forward as well, so having your sort of, you know, your ruck forward combination will be really good, as I said, because yeah, obviously I feel like, especially in the game, if you're only a ruckman in this competition, I feel like the only players ruckman can be very stale when it comes to a team list, because yeah, you do need that ruckman that, you know, can they go forward, can they go help out the back line. A ruckman just being a ruckman in today's game, I feel like you need to be more than that. So yeah, and Teale definitely does that, and I feel like he fills a great hole. I believe he's 204 centimeters, so obviously very tall. If we need him to go forward and we need him to create a contest and to, I guess in a sense, be that statue in the forward line, so that when the ball drops, I mean, our small forwards are probably the best in the competition, so even if he doesn't mark it, he doesn't have to, because of the small forwards around that'll probably crumb off anything that he touches, basically. Insurance, yeah, this pick I think will be fantastic, and yeah, hopefully he does get picked up, but yeah, we'll wait and see. Yeah, that's basically my thoughts on Teale. Okay, so for the sixth and final player, obviously if you guys have kept track, you guys will know who this player is, and yeah, we will be speaking about Josh Eyre. Okay, so for the final and last pick of the SSPs, I'm going to be talking about Josh Eyre. So with Josh, obviously having come from Essendon, he was drafted as a key forward originally, and then in his last year at Essendon, they threw him down back just to, you know, see if he could make it on the list as a defender. But obviously when they had to cut players off their list, I mean, unfortunately for Essendon and potentially fortunately for us, yeah, Eyre was obviously delisted by Essendon, and yeah, ended up playing in the VFL for us last season, and I thought he did extremely well. And yeah, ever since he's been training with us this pre-season, I think he's been easily our standout when it comes to the SSP guys. So it would be absolutely no shocker whatsoever if he does get picked up. Yeah, I believe he's 198 centimeters. Sort of plays like a Jordan Huffhead sort of type. So when he plays, like, you know, as a key defender, he's actually a key defender, where I feel like we have a lot of those guys that technically will match up and will play as a key defender, but actually aren't key defenders. For example, like Nathan Murphy is probably better as a general and like a third tall. Someone that's playing in the VFL, like a Charlie Dean, is probably more of that third tall that sort of shows his leadership. You know, we've even had at times like Jeremy Howe has to be a key defender. So with someone like Josh Eyre that's coming through, and you can see just like how much this opportunity means to him as well too. He's just overall attack on the ball. He's even got a really good left foot kick, especially, you know, being a key positions, especially when they're defenders. Like they're normally not I mean, they can always have good kicks, but they're never the best kicks in the comp. And I'm not saying he's got the best kick in the comp, but I'm saying for a key defender, he's got a very, very good kick especially on his left foot. You'll be seeing a lot of kicks into the corridor where we're taking the game on, and, you know, that risky kick where, yeah, he'll be the one to pull it off. I mean, I would even go as far to say I can easily see this guy playing senior footy this year. That's really how much I believe in this kid. And then even potentially making a push for the finals run, and obviously if we do a repeat of last year, yeah, like he can easily be in that squad. So obviously he'll be pushing for selection like everybody else. Yeah, I feel like if you get a guy like this on your list, it definitely improves the list. And for a club like us where we don't really have a lot of key position talent, and key position talent in the sense where, you know, you need that genuine fullback to match up on, you know, like a Tom Hawkins, Joe Danaher. You need that player to sort of like outmuscle, and just, you know, when it comes to like a one-on-one contest, you need someone strong enough to obviously outdo players like that. And yeah, I feel like with Josh Eyre, I feel like he can definitely do that, and has the ability to make it at AFL level by doing that role. Also as well, one of the things I would like to point out too, and obviously this has to come into consideration as well, when Josh was at Essendon, and mind you, I did forget to mention this with Byel, because Byel was also a fair bit injured during his St Kilda days. Josh Eyre also was another one where he was also, you know, injured at Essendon as well too. So, but obviously with the club, the fact that we've got Jared Wade, obviously touch wood, both Byel and obviously Eyre have also done really well this preseason. They haven't skipped any training sessions. Obviously, we know how professional Wade is when it comes to, you know, the health and fitness of the players. Can't see an issue going forward with these players, and yeah, as long as they're able to adjust to the professional system, which I mean clearly they were doing it even with Byel at St Kilda and obviously Josh Eyre at Essendon. There's no reason why. Yeah, at least in this specific moment, because we're just speaking about Eyre. At least with Eyre, at least we know that we're going to be getting the best out of him, because not only is he obviously giving it his all, and he's obviously got the talent to make it, but we've also got the club and the facilities and the people inside the club to obviously look after Eyre as much as we can. And yeah, as I said, I've got big hopes for him. I can easily see him playing in the back half of the year, and yeah, if we obviously make a big run into finals, if he's a part of it, like I would be more than happy for that to be the case, especially with, you know, half a season under his belt, with a bit of confidence, especially now that he's been training all pre-season with the AFL guys. I think you'll start to see this guy blossom into a really, really good player. And if there's ever a player to be Markov 2.0, this is the guy. Obviously extremely exciting signs. I think for me personally, far and above, he's been our best trainer. If there is a number one spot, you have to lock this guy away. Like, you have to sign him, you have to get him inside the club, because yeah, I absolutely rate this kid. Yeah, hopefully we do. It seems like we are, but you can never be too sure, but I'm sure we'll know very, very soon on that result. Hopefully, as I said, yeah, hopefully we pick him up, because he's obviously an awesome talent. Okay, so those are my thoughts for all the SSP players that we have currently trying to get a spot. But yeah, obviously I've had my say. Let me know what you guys have to say in the comments below. Do you guys have a top 6? Who do you guys want us to sign? Be sure to put it in the comments, and yeah, let's have a discussion in the comments. But yeah, obviously with that said, yeah, there's nothing more to talk about. We've covered the whole SSP talk, and yeah, I guess that's it for me, and yeah, we'll finish up here. Alright, so if you like the video, make sure to like the video, and if you want more of my content, make sure to subscribe, because we're certainly going to be here for the long haul. Yeah, without further ado, make sure to stay tuned for the next video, and till then, I'll see you guys later.